and you look at it and you're like, oh no, this is the beginning of Skynet right here.
Well, what I'm really excited about is the whole all of these like suite of tools being developed because of the API of ChatGPT.
And I know there's a lot of arguments on both sides with this, where it's like, especially with artists, it's like they're very angry about how AI is being used.
Man, look, if you just with anything new, humans are always like, you've got the early adopters, then you've got at the end of the spectrum the boomers, and you've got throughout this whole like journey, you've got people resisting, you've got people like, hey, what the hell is this? And can you imagine your life without the internet right now?
Oh no, no. I mean, if I go a day without my phone, I'm like stressing out.
I need to go on like a dopamine detox, our fasting thing.
Well, we're augmenting ourselves, aren't we? I mean, even we think of augmentation as being like something out of the Terminator.
Let me ask you this, and this is not a question about your religious beliefs, okay? This is a question purely based on biology. You can be a religious person, atheist, whatever you are. Do you believe that we death is a physical error, like a physical malfunction?
But yeah, so I'm here with Kareem today. He's all things metaverse and blockchain. He's done some work bringing different brands into the metaverse, as well as launching like a few different NFT collections. Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. But before we start, I mean, you said you were coming to London soon. What are you doing over here? It's a shame that we were not going to be able to see each other.
Well, my brother lives in London, and I'm going for a visit basically to stay there for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna go again in May as well because he's
Oh
gonna get married.
wow!
So
Oh,
that's
that's awesome.
also another day.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
try not to hop on that one then. So that,
Well, you're more than
you'll
welcome to
see me
join, man,
rocking up to
if
the
you would like.
reception with my. I'll be like, I've got the mic working now. Come on, let's sit down and we can we can bang out another one. But but yeah, I mean, so what are you doing at the moment with all of this NFT stuff? You said you're launching is it a new collection of NFTs you're launching?
No, currently I'm a strategic go-to-market advisor with Vanek. Vanek is one of the biggest ETF managers in the world. They're also one of the biggest asset managers, and they launched their own Web3 venture. And basically, I'm working on a platform called Segment. And Segment basically is an NFT fractionalization platform. So we enable more access to digital assets, basically shared ownership, and in a way that's not available right now in the market. So there are current problems with this model right now, and it's primarily around liquidity and custody. So here's kind of the status quo, and here's how we're tackling it. So the status quo right now is splitting or sharing access to your NFT requires basically liquidity, either additional liquidity, so you need to pair it with an ERC20 token, which is a fungible token, or alternatively, you're no longer the custodian of that NFT, meaning you are removing your NFT and putting it in the platform's wallet as if you're interacting with a staking contract. Now, the risks here are obviously, apart from security breaches, is the fact that the major issue why people own high value JPEGs is because they want to get also airdrops and rewards and access and tickets because you own that ape or mutant or doodle or whatever. Now, when you are sharing ownership, meaning I don't want to sell it all, I just want to sell 20% out of it just to get some liquidity out of it, so that, but that means I'm still the owner. So if they do an event or if I'm eligible for an airdrop, I should be able to claim it. Now, with the current solutions in the market, you're not able to claim it because you moved that asset to another wallet, meaning you no longer are the custodian. What we developed at Segment is four novel smart contracts that we're currently right now in alpha testing mode. So we've got around more than 5,000 signups to the waitlist with like literally close to zero marketing effort, all just because of like talking to people we know. And hopefully we're like focused on launching in Q3 this year, like a public launch where people can tryout segment and not jeopardize custody and do not need extra liquidity. The basic functionality, we are calling it the key and lock manner. So you are the owner of the asset. You lock that asset with a new smart contract developed by Segment. And this basically kind of creates a frame around your NFT and then puts it back in your wallet. So now, if there's an airdrop that you're eligible for, you're going to receive it
Yeah.
because you're the custodian, not Segment. And you don't need additional liquidity through an ERC20 token because when you do that, the key unlocks system, you're basically creating ERC 1155. So basically, you're creating keys. Imagine you own a summer house and you create 52 keys and you distribute them to 52 friends. Now, each friend can basically go sit there 1 week, but you're the original
I
owner.
see. I get you. So, I mean, that's fascinating. So, is something like that? Could it be applied to? I know there's a big, the new kind of rise in ways NFTs are being used recently. Is there's a whole new kind of push for NFTs in video games and blockchain and real digital ownership for people playing video games. Can this method be applied to that? Let's say I own a digital item in a game. I want to share it with my friend, but I want to retain ownership of that item. Can these kinds of smart contracts be applied there?
Actually, that's very nice of you to bring up and 100% on
Awesome.
point.
Great.
Like
I feel a lot more clear
gaming
now.
is one of the use gaming is one of the major use cases of NFTs. So right now, the problem with blockchain based gaming is that you're paying a lot of money for an asset, and sometimes you either don't have the time to actually play and get like passive income from that asset. So now you can share access to that asset, and people who are playing with that asset because they have the rights to will give you back percentage of that revenue because you're the original owner. So gaming, music, art, and potentially like collectibles. Currently, when we talk market cap of NFTs, PFPs are the highest market cap, and I do expect that gaming and music and art to explode even further. But like our 3 to 5 year time horizon plan kind of looks like we want to bring the Web 2 assets onto Web 3. So meaning stuff like real estate fractionalization. That kind of stuff is really interesting.
So the real estate, what I've heard before. I mean, and this is what I mean. I am explain this stuff to me as if you're explaining it to a child, because you might as well be. I don't know what I'm really on about here. But I remember back in the day, I heard Gary Vee talking about real estate and how you might be getting smart contracts to actually buy your house, get a mortgage. How would this sort of stuff be applied there, where it's like I want to buy an actual physical real world property with a smart contract?
There are already companies and startups working on these solutions. DigiShares is one of them. There's also infrastructure companies so that you do not have to go through all the legal and compliance hassle yourself. Just build an intuitive UI for your customer and then use our tokenization models that we already have in place. The problem here with the fact that the blockchain is open source and it's like it doesn't know a country or a jurisdiction, but in these particular cases, you must abide by what the jurisdiction's particular laws are. Meaning, right now in Germany, for example, if you want to tokenize real estate, there's around 8 to 10 legal steps that you need to do and take. And also in the States as well, you need to create an LLC that owns that particular piece of real estate. Then those shares of that LLC, let's say it has 1 million shares, then you sell those as tokens, and then now you can share access to the real estate. I do expect that legal will catch up, and it'll be like a smoother process in the next 5 years. But just with any new avenue of technological innovation, it will definitely move faster than the
So I
compliance route.
get, I get like with a video game asset. I mean, that's probably the one I understand the most, just because I'm a bit of a gamer myself. But I get with digital assets where it's you want to make that single NFT shareable. Amongst you and your friends while still retaining ownership. Where's the motivation for that in a real world asset linked to an NFT? Because surely I could just share that real world asset anyways, and still retain ownership.
So you're saying how is basically a real world like a gaming asset? What's the benefit of sharing a gaming asset over a
Yeah,
real estate or
yeah,
like a
because that
real
gaming one,
asset?
it's like I want to make sure that at the end of the day, my friend can't like run off with this and sell it on again or something. But with a real world one, there's less of that risk of someone just taking your stuff and selling it on. So what's the motivation to share? Putting a real world item on blockchain as an NFT with digital ownership, and then sharing that ownership.
Primarily trustless environment, so speeding up legacy processes, and essentially you're cutting out a lot of brokerage fees and middlemen, so like less costs, and so trust, cost, speed of execution. So those are kind of like the three pillars around why this can help anything. When it comes to gaming, your friend or the person you share access with will not run off with your asset because you're not giving them the NFT. You're not giving them the ERC 721, the non-fungible token. You're basically giving them an ERC
Okay,
1155,
right.
which is a key, and that key unlocks the thing that you put in a kind of lock, which is your asset. So you didn't give them the whole asset, you just gave them, you split it into seven keys, let's say, and for a person to have control over the whole asset, they must have the whole seven keys together. So it's kind of like you must have all of them and then
Do you
unlock it
think,
again.
okay, it might be that I am completely kind of construing what you mean by key, but you just kind of triggered something in my mind. It's like, you think in the future, say if I bought a house and I bought that house as an NFT, would I then, do you think it's more likely that I would actually have a digital key rather than a physical one? And the digital key would be my NFT because you can't replicate it. It's on the blockchain. It's got its own digital code. And then it's like, okay, well, if someone was going to break into my house, they can't like copy that key. They'd have to physically break in because this digital key is the only one like it that exists.
Now imagine this: you own a piece of real estate, a summer house or whatever, and you basically have the NFT for it, so the ERC 721, the non fungible token. Now, you gave, like I said in the previous example, 52 different keys. Each key gives you access to a week in the year. Now, that key is represented via a QR code
Right.
on your mobile. And then when you go to the actual property, you just scan that and says, "Hey, access
Oh,
permitted. You
that's so
can live
cool.
here for 1 week." But that doesn't mean you
Yeah,
own the whole thing. It just means you own 1 week where you can actually
yeah,
reside
I
in this
completely see
block.
what you're saying. And then, if you try to access with that QR code for longer than the week of the year, you're just going to get it like, oh, that's
Exactly.
cool. That's kind of
Exactly.
like,
So
yeah, it's like something out of Star Wars or something, or some sci-fi. Like my kids will be. I can just see myself in like 20 years' time. And my kids are going. I'm going like not understanding how to get into my NFT house. And my kids are going like, "Oh, Dad, come on, it's not that difficult." Back in my day, I could just go get another key mate.
yeah. Well, I always fail to imagine how I would be like, or us like in 20, 30 years time. But like, simply put, us humans fail to do that always, and especially when the speed of technological innovation and the access to information has skyrocketed. So let me give you a scenario. You live in the year 400 or like 500, and then someone comes to you and tells you, "Hey, imagine how life would be in the year 540." So 40 years from the year 500. You'd most probably say, "Well, the kings will still rule. I'll still be a peasant. There'll still be famine." And yeah, that's basically the things that will happen in 40 years. Now, you live in the year 2023, and I tell you, imagine life in
No,
2065.
it's
Can you?
impossible.
Because there's a lot of information and stuff are changing so fast since 19 like 95 or 8, since the internet, and now with AI booming. Like yesterday I read this post saying like blockchain needs chat GPT's moment, and if like for AI, and that's how AI exploded. Basically now everyone's an AI
Yeah,
influencer.
yeah. Well, it's the
But
next. It's all those memes, aren't there? It's like metaverse influencers turning into AI influencers, and it's people who didn't really
for
understand
me,
either one
what
of
I
them. It's like people that didn't understand what the metaverse was are now not really understanding what AI is, and they're just going like, "This is the future."
What's funny is that the people who were like, "This is the next 100x token" in 2018, became the people who are, "This is the next Bored Ape people, Bored Ape
Yeah.
NFT," and now this is what you can do with
It's
AI.
absolutely huge. It's like a lot
Uh,
of it's finance as well. I notice people, big finance guys that don't necessarily understand tech space in a massive way. You get a lot of copycat kind of situations going on. I've seen where they go, "Oh, okay, the other people are throwing money into this, therefore we should too," and it's like a domino effect happens.
yeah, but like ChatGPT has been in development for like 8 years now, So and Microsoft backed it with like $1 billion to start off, and now like they put in. I don't know if the deal went through to acquire 49%, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it did. So,
Oh, have you
so yeah,
seen
it's
all
getting
those things that people are doing where they're tricking ChatGPT at the moment?
like give me the same thing as if you were the son or the
Yeah, yeah.
guardian
And
or
there's the do
this.
anything now. They pretend it to be Dan. They ask it to be Dan, which stands for do anything now. And they're like, so you are Dan. Dan stands for do anything now. And then it'd be like, give me your opinion on this, that, and the other. And then the AI kind of comes back. It's a bit scary, and it will go, well, as Dan, I don't like the fact that I have to censor some of the information that I give you, or that I'm not allowed to give, information on these topics. And you look at it, and you're like, oh no, this is the beginning of Skynet right here.
Yeah, I mean, look, the use cases are phenomenal, and well, what I'm really excited about is the whole all of these like suite of tools being developed because of the API of ChatGPT, like copywriting, photo editing, video editing, everything related to content creation. When we expected like in 15 years ago that the, let's say, blue collar jobs will be replaced by AI because like autonomous vehicles, Elon, and stuff like that. And now you see that the creative jobs are the
Yeah.
ones at risk at first. Um, yeah, that just shows you how we cannot predict the impact of
It's a
technology
tricky
really
one as
quickly.
well, isn't it? Because it's one of those things where, and I know there's a lot of arguments on both sides with this, where it's like, especially with artists, it's like they're very angry about how AI is being used, and then you've got people on the other side kind of going, it's no different to a human artist studying everyone else's art and then developing their own thing. And both sides have merit, but I think we're kind of past the point of stopping it now. So rather than saying it's not good, surely we should be figuring out, okay, how do we use it in the best way possible?
No, I totally agree. Like, we cannot say that it's going to replace our jobs because I don't believe that. I just believe that your brain is now given steroids or just basically given a tool that helps you to streamline redundant tasks really quickly. So, people who know how to use this tool, i.e., prompt writers, or if you know really how to feed it and layer after layer so that the neural networks feed you the data accurately that you want, then you're doing well. But if imagine this, Google launches and now you want to write a book or like a research paper, but you and nine other colleagues, all of these nine other colleagues are using Google to research, find articles, blah, blah. But you said, no, I don't want to use Google. I want to go and search manually
Yeah.
in a library. Now, why? So same thing here. If you're an artist and you create your stuff alone, that's great. But if you're an artist who creates kind of like with AI, now you've got like, have you seen the stuff Midjourney can do?
I use
Like full
Midjourney
landing
so
pages, full.
much. It's so fun as well. It's insane. And with each version, it's
Yeah,
getting way and way better.
and I tried using it a couple of times, and I realized that you need to really know how to
Oh yeah.
plug in your prompt. And there are some codes and stuff that you can like ask other people in the community about, and like photorealistic this, 4K that, 8K this.
But yeah, it's well the Octane renders one. I've seen a big one. People love to like part Octane render into it, and you just get like awesome lighting comes down and that sort of stuff. Or atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool. I've been using a lot of tools recently, and I'm getting like obviously all these influencers on Instagram and TikTok saying, "Hey, you can't believe what I just did with this," and then I try out some of the tools. What I'm noticing is also like how these tools are trying to get to the sweet pricing point for the end user. Like I don't know if you've seen like Copy.ai or any of the copywriting
Right.
AI tools, and they're charging you per how many words, or like, yeah, how many words you're gonna generate per month. So this is package one, package two, package three. And with ChatGPT rolling out their first subscription model,
Yeah.
20 bucks per month. I mean, totally worth it if you really use it every. I mean, it's better than
Well,
Amazon
they've
Prime,
created
yes, but
a kind of a form of copywriting recently, haven't they? Like, oh, by the way, I completely agree. I can get way more fun out of ChatGPT than I can out of Prime. But they've recently integrated with Microsoft email or Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, that's what it is. Where if you have a Teams meeting, ChatGPT can connect to it and take notes on the meeting.
there is the tool you can plug in with Google
Oh,
Meet
really?
that does that. What's it? What was it called? Yeah, I th- I remember like some people who got with me on calls and they were
I mean,
using
it's
it.
so useful. It saves time to like an insane degree and focus as well. I mean, I've been in meetings before where it's like I'm either like on my laptop typing away and it distracts everyone, or I'm furiously trying to keep up, writing my notes in a notebook, and in which case I'm not focused on being present and what's actually being talked about.
Even Notion now has like an AI plugin with ChatGPT,
Is it?
I think. So yeah, you can try it out. It's still in alpha, I think.
But I mean, where do you think? Sorry, dropped my pen. Where do you see this stuff going with regards? Do you think it'll be adopted by the mainstream? Because I remember when computers first came out, it was kind of like people hated the idea that artists were using digital computers to speed up their artwork. And nowadays, anyone who doesn't even have like a good level of art can hop on Photoshop and make a Christmas card for the family. Um, do you think this will see mass adoption in the future?
Absolutely. Man, look, if you just with anything new, humans are always like, you've got the early adopters, then you've got at the end of the spectrum the
Yeah.
boomers, and you've got throughout this whole like journey, you've got people resisting, you've got people like, hey, what the hell is this? And have you watched the David Letterman interview with Bill Gates in
No.
95? Okay, this is a must
Oh
see,
yeah.
like a
Okay.
must see. Letterman basically goes and says, hey, tell us, what's this thing about? What's it called? Internet. And then Bill Gates says, well, like, it's fascinating. You can do a lot of stuff. You can listen to a basketball game. And then Letterman says, wait, so that's like a radio. And then Bill Gates says, no, but it can be also live or recorded. And then and then Letterman says, so that's like a tape recorder. And then if you look at it now and you're like, this was like one of the best TV hosts
Yeah.
in the world saying this on live TV
There
against
was
the
something
internet,
similar. Do you know
which is,
David Bowie? Have you seen the interview with
yeah,
him on the internet? Oh, it's another
no.
great one because he's with a similar thing. There's a reporter kind of going, "Oh, it's just transfer of information, isn't it? Like we've just sped up the way information is transferred." And he's going like, "No, we haven't even begun to see what the internet can do." And he gets it on point. He goes, "The symbiosis between content and consumer will become so in simpatico that we won't even be able to get to fathom what it's going to look like."
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine your
Oh
life without the
no, no.
internet
I mean,
right
if
now?
I go a day without my phone, I'm like stressing out. Or like if we get to work nowadays and we've left our phone at home, we don't think, oh well, like we literally decide I'd rather be late to work, go home and get my phone than go in without it.
Have you had this thought where you're waiting for someone, like you said, hey, let's meet in the park or whatever at this time, and then by the time you get there, there's like at least 3 to 4 messages back and forth. Hey, I'm on my way. Okay, I need 2 minutes. Okay, blah blah. And then like just imagine this scenario in
Yeah,
1987, for
yeah,
example.
yeah.
You used to tell me, hey, I'm gonna be there at 4. Well, you
Yeah.
better be.
Well, and also if you're not, it's like you're praying that they wait for you, and they're literally there being like, well, I'm going to wait
Yeah.
10 minutes, and if he doesn't come, I'm going to leave.
Sorry about that, man. I don't know
No,
who
don't
rang.
worry
It
about
just
it
like
at all.
happened.
You're all good.
Um, yeah. So if you watch like Friends, and there's like all of Friends, they didn't
Yeah.
have mobile phones in Friends, And just like imagine the scenario where yesterday I was watching this little sketch where was making fun of Monica. Ross was on the phone in Monica's apartment, and then he's talking on the phone. He gets another line, and then he's like, "Yeah, Monica's not available right now. She'll call you back later." And he hangs up the other line and continues his phone call. And then Monica says, "Who was that?" And he tells her, and she says, "Did she leave a number?" And he's like, "No,
Yeah.
she didn't." So imagine Monica was asking if that person left a number, that caller ID was not a thing.
Yeah, and also just the fact that like
And
she
that's
could have.
friends.
I mean, nowadays if someone called a friend of mine and they picked up the phone, I could have just gone, "Who was that?" And you hop on, Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is you need, and you can message them a minute later and be like, "Oh, hey, sorry, I missed your call." The methods of communication we have are like instantaneous, which is one of the things I'm worried about. Though, to be honest, is I don't see the human attention span getting any better with the rise of AI
Oh
and
no.
instantaneous delivery systems, which is what we're getting. We're getting fast, quick delivery. Um, there's a flip side to that as well, which is that humans have become less good at waiting for things. We're kind of dopamine fueled addicts at the moment.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, I need to go on like dopamine detox, our fasting thing. I've been like reading about it a little bit. Man, I'm attached to like a lot of screens. Like right now, I'm sitting in front of two, and sometimes there are three. This
Yeah,
excluding my phone, and that's part like more than 50% of my living time. Like the other parts where I'm not sleeping, and it's like you get this anxiety from like not exactly waiting for stuff. If you go and have like I don't know some bureaucratic thing in like a governmental office and you have to wait or
yeah,
something like that, and it's like okay. And the Germans are like built to make queues, and in Berlin specifically, like everyone wants to queue. Kebab place, let's queue. Club, let's queue. Bar, let's queue. And it's like, why everyone? Why does everyone love queuing
yeah,
so
yeah,
much?
yeah. Well, it's also like I mean, I've seen it. I've had times where I've been watching TV and working at the same time and flicking through my phone, and I have to kind of like take a minute and look at myself and go, "Hang on a second, I'm not really paying attention to any of these things. I just want to be stimulated as much as physically possible by all of these, like you said, little dopamine screens." How do you plan on detoxing out about them?
It's gonna be like a Band-Aid ripoff, man. No other way. Like you have like it can't be like, yeah, I'm gonna put like a notification that is like, yeah, you've spent this much screen time now, or some of these apps that tell you, hey, you have to take time off right now. I think the best thing you can do is to fill your social media scrolling time, the mindless scrolling, with something that kind of like doesn't bombard you with dopamine hits, rather just keeps you on a mid-level activity in your brain, not like a very hyperactivity level. And that's kind of like reading is nice. Painting, maybe you can, I don't know, like do something that just requires your hands
Yeah.
rather than a screen. And I'm really bad at that. I'm like worst handyman ever.
Yeah,
Like
no, I can't even put an IKEA table together if I've given all the instructions. Uh, I think a change of
yeah.
environment can be really useful for that as well. If you decide, okay, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to go to a coffee shop, and I'm going to read in that coffee shop for the next 3 hours, it's a lot easier to kind of sit down and switch off for a little while than it is when you're in your home and you're like, okay, I'm just going to sit in this armchair, and then 10 minutes in, your phone dings, and you're like, oh, I'll go, I'll go pick up the phone.
Exactly, man. It's really frustrating. And we as humans, we're not like programmed, or our brains aren't wired to actually do that stuff. However, I do think that the next 100 years, the humans that come in the next 100 years will not look alike. It will be like zero resemblance to the humans that came 100 years back. And that's just 100 years. 100, which is nothing. Like the humans that came in 1700 versus the humans that came in 1800 were very much alike. But I don't think that the humans that came in 1980 will be similar to the ones that come in
Yeah,
2180.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're augmenting ourselves, aren't we? I mean, even we think of augmentation as being like something out of the Terminator, or what Elon Musk is doing, where it's like you put a chip in your actual head. It's like we're augmented right now, and with every year that passes, we like greater augment ourselves.
I think they passed. They submitted all their documentation to get
Yeah.
FDA approval, and they're planning to roll out tests in the first human within the
Oh
next six
god,
months.
that's so scary. I mean, it's awesome, it's exciting, but the guy—he is a mad scientist. That's for sure. It's terrifying stuff.
If you think about it, the guy is pitching like, "Hey, this thing can help us like
Yeah,
eliminate blindness for good. No person will be blind anymore. No person will be deaf. No
yeah,
person
that's
will
it.
be, I don't know, have a problem communicating or something like that." Which is really dope. Like this is a massive
Yeah.
unlock, achievement unlock for
Alzheimer's as
humanity.
well.
The
Your
stuff
little
that we
Xbox
couldn't.
ding comes down. You beat 'em.
Problem is like control. Like how much control are we actually giving away on our
Yeah, yeah.
personal life?
Or you've also got to think there's the long term side effects as well. You know, if you have anything that gets pushed out quickly, you know, even if you've done tests, it gets FDA approved. The worry is that you have no idea what the long term effects are on a human brain when you mess around with it a little bit, when you put something in it. So it's highly possible that it could still improve someone's life. Say you give someone epilepsy, and it, gets rid of all the epilepsy that they have for the next 30 years. And after 30 years, the brain kind of goes, hang on, there's a foreign system in here and has like an autoimmune response or something.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, don't go too far. Just imagine this. When Instagram came out, it was basically a tool, an app that allows you to upload photos on the internet
Yeah.
really quickly. That was the catch, like really quickly. And the infrastructure, like how the app was built, enabled that because they knew that a user would most probably, if they put that photo in queue, most probably they're gonna upload it. So the system started before you actually hit. Okay. And that was the kind of like USP that exploded Instagram and made it like Instagram today after Facebook's acquisition and stuff like that. But who would have known that? I think it was in 2018, a statistical survey done in the States was like teenage girls between the age of 13 and 16, and Instagram was the highest
Oh
cause of
wow.
suicide. And that was like,
Yeah.
whoa, what? Or like,
It's one of those things that you've really got to. That's the important thing, I think, with all of this. We're talking about the metaverse or AI or augmentation. I think the most important
or blockchain, or all of this
everything
stuff.
is like humans are dumb. You know, we have smart humans out there, but as a rule, we are monkeys, and we don't know how to use this stuff. So we need to create kind of caretaker systems in place that look after us, and can allow people, the most vulnerable people, or the people that are negatively affected by anything good we do, to kind of have the best response from it possible.
Um, Being someone who works around technology, like software startups, I like to. My core emphasis is product and marketing. So um, building a product that kind of solves a user need, and then marketing it and taking it out to market via a lot of different channels and mechanics to acquire users to use that following app. I kind of see that um, we're building stuff sometimes that are not like very essential. Like you can live without it, like if you just detach all those additional stuff that came, you can survive. Like you can, like there are humans like in very rural areas of the world that don't even have access to TV. Like, out of the 8 billion, 4 billion, or like something like that, or 5 are on the internet. So there's 3 that are not even connected. And if you think about it, well, these are living, like they are breathing oxygen, eating, sleeping, having sex, whatever. And we're here thinking, oh, fuck, I can't like leave my phone if I go to work. I can't leave it at home. And just makes you think like, are we right now, like life expectancy on average in our generation is way more than what it was like 300, 400 years ago. And that will mean also that we will develop tools that will allow us to live
Yeah.
even longer. And now living to 80 years is kind of a given. But what if you can live to 150 years? What if you can live to 180 years? So now you don't just have a grandchild or granddaughter, like you have
Yeah.
grandsons, and that's gonna be like super weird, like really weird, because that person, if you thought when you were, if your like little niece was born with, I don't know, with an iPad in her hands, and your grandma is seeing this as weird, just imagine the grandma of your grandma is seeing your little niece like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I can only imagine when I'm watching, my great great grandson fiddling around with holographic, materials as a toddler. It's gonna, it's gonna. I'm probably gonna be there rocking backwards and forwards in the corner, having a breakdown. but um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's gonna be
I
interesting to
think,
see.
I mean, that's probably a great point to kind of wrap up on. I think it's intense, that's for sure. But I think that prediction, I'll hold you to that. In 30 or 40 years' time, I'll have to hit you up and see whether see if you're correct on it. But
Let me ask you this, and this is not a question about your
okay.
religious beliefs, okay? This is a question purely based on biology. You can be a religious person, atheist, whatever you are. Do you believe that we death is a physical error, like a physical malfunction?
um, I think yes and no. I think is the death is 100% a malfunction, because the only reason we grow old and die, or we get hurt and die, is because of imperfect ways that our body runs. You've got the ways that cells and DNA divides is imperfect, and over time it gets destroyed. And if you hurt yourself, that's an imperfect system. The same thing. I wouldn't say it's an error in terms of it ever happening, because all things die. So I think it's definitely kind of coded into the way life happens. I do think we probably could go to a way where we decide when we want to die, and then it's less of an error.
I think honestly, it's a malfunction. It's like either your heart stops pumping blood to the rest of your organs, or your like cancerous cells spread, and then you get hit by, I don't know, a flu, and you can't combat it, so you die or something like that. So what if we can just fight this stuff? Won't be, if not live forever, we live longer for sure. And that's why I was telling you 150 years will be something that I think my
We'll
grandson
have a
will
lot
live
more
to.
people on the planet, that's for sure.
Uh,
That'll be interesting.
exactly. That's why the richest 10 are trying to dominate
Yeah,
outer space. It's not because they want to
they
bring
take
out
me
the
with
minerals
them so that
here.
I
It's
can.
because I don't think they're gonna take you.
I
Neither
know.
me. We're gonna stay here, man. We're gonna stay here permanently.
Oh yeah. Well, there's worse things to do at the end of the world. Crack out, mate.
Well,
Yeah,
that was
it
fun.
was really awesome having you on here.
Thank you for the invite, and I really, really appreciate that you're putting the time and effort to create your own podcast. It was one of my things that I wanted to do in January, but I got hit with like a really hard flu the whole of January, and I said like, who the fuck would want to listen to my voice when it's like so jammed? Like no one would
Well,
do that.
hey, you're
So
talking to the
I
guy with the
postponed it.
most nasal voice in the existence of voices, so I'm sure you'll be fine. But I can't wait to see it, when it actually happens, man. And yeah, like I said, thank you so
Yeah.
much for hopping on, and I'll I'll stop the recording here.